On this Wednesday night, opposition outrage.
We have to include an invitation for Ms. Wilson-Raybould to speak.
Liberals use their majority to limit the scope of a parliamentary inquiry. What the Prime Minister is doing to reassure an anxious caucus.
Speaking out at personal risk, a Venezuelan soldier's take on his country's crisis. What he says his colleagues would do if they were ordered to shoot.
This movement has given everyone an opportunity to come out and say what they're unhappy with.
And they're organizing and ready to roll to Ottawa. But who are Canada's Yellow Vests? Is it a cohesive movement or just a slogan of convenience? This is The National.
Who said what to whom, and did it amount to pressure on a former Attorney General? The questions about the SNC-Lavalin case have gripped Ottawa for days. The answers have been in short supply. Today, MPs met to figure out how to get to the bottom of it. The opposition isn't taking the Prime Minister's word that the government did nothing wrong. It wants to question others, especially the person at the center of the allegations. But Liberal MPs have a majority on the committee and use their clout today. David Cochrane was in the room.
An emergency meeting of the Justice Committee, a golden opportunity for the opposition.
This is about corruption at the highest levels of the PMO.
The opposition smells a cover-up, so they want 9 key people to testify. The former and current justice ministers and top government staff, especially from the Prime Minister's office.
There are certain witnesses they don't want to hear from. Right? Certain things that might be said that they don't want said when Canadian eyes and ears are watching and listening.
The Liberals pushed back.
I don't appreciate the political posturing that is going on here.
We don't have the tools, we don't have the budget, we don't have the mechanisms to go through the fishing expedition and the kind of witch hunt that the Conservatives would like to see.
Instead, the Liberals tabled a shorter witness list. Just 3 people: the new Justice Minister, his deputy, the clerk of the Privy Council, who is the Prime Minister's top bureaucrat. There's a promise to consider more, but there's no one from Trudeau's political staff, at least not right now.
I think that our committee owes it to Canadians to not be so partisan, to not be here looking for sound bites, to be able to try to embarrass persons or to embarrass our Prime Minister.
He's doing that all on his own. He doesn't need my help. He doesn't need any of our help.
The other glaring omission, Jody Wilson-Raybould, the former Attorney General who resigned from Cabinet without saying why.
We have to include an invitation for Ms. Wilson-Raybould to speak. It baffles me that isn't the most obvious thing in this entire conversation.
She has invoked solicitor-client privilege, and she has one of the best lawyers in the land advising her. So to have her come before this committee would be to invite her to speak about things that she simply cannot talk about.
They argued for 3 hours. Nobody budged. The Liberals used their majority to defeat the opposition at every turn and start this examination on their terms. The opposition had its say, but in the end, the government got its way.
Thank you all.
David Cochrane, CBC News, Ottawa.
So does Justin Trudeau still have the support of all of his MPs? Some have voiced support for the former Attorney General, but as Katie Simpson explains, that doesn't mean there's a rift in the Liberal caucus.
Moving on like nothing's wrong. Some in the Prime Minister's inner circle are downplaying concern a rift is growing within the party over Jody Wilson-Raybould's resignation.
The team needs to pull together and focus on the work that remains to be done, and the cabinet is fully cohesive.
Multiple sources tell CBC News the Prime Minister is trying to stomp out any dissent and even held a caucus conference call last night to reassure MPs. The sources say Justin Trudeau was adamant neither he nor his office did anything wrong.
I emphasized to her that the decision the decisions she makes as Attorney General, particularly in this matter, are her decision, and that I was not directing or pressuring her.
Yesterday, Treasury Board President Jane Philpott thanked Wilson-Raybould for teaching her about Indigenous history, rights, and justice. a completely different tone from Trudeau, who has not offered any thanks to the former minister. Philpott also liked a tweet by Wilson Raybould's sister with the hashtag #SpeakTruthToPower. An Ontario Liberal MP liked that tweet too, adding a fist of solidarity.
This is a real difficult situation for the Prime Minister.
There may not be a full-scale revolt, but the mixed messages from some Liberals is a sign of bigger divisions, according to this professor.
There's friendly fire making its way into the public spotlight. The difficulty isn't going to be just one for the Prime Minister, it'll be one for the entire party.
Well, this can certainly be the kind of thing that can have a big impact.
CBC's polls analyst says it will still be a few weeks before anyone will be able to tell if Trudeau and the Liberals have taken a hit in popularity over this issue. And whether it will drag on is anyone's guess.
So we might still be talking about this by the time the fall election campaign happens, or the story might have passed and whatever damage is done has been repaired by the government.
Liberal sources say they believe Trudeau was being genuine on yesterday's conference call, but no one had an opportunity to ask any questions because the Prime Minister wasn't taking any. Rosie.
All right, Katie, so Wilson Raybould out of cabinet but does remain in Liberal caucus. Are you hearing any concerns about that tonight?
Wilson Raybould, from everyone that I've spoken with, is completely welcome in caucus. But sources say after this story broke, some in caucus were uncomfortable with the idea of her returning to cabinet because of the speculation that she or some of her senior staffers may have been the original source for this story.
Jane, Philpott's reaction to all of this has been getting a lot of attention. We know that they work together on a lot of legislation. Is there any indication, though, that Philpott could face any heat over this?
In short, no. Philpott is right up there with Chrystia Freeland, the Foreign Affairs Minister, in terms of reputation to get things done and get them done well. While no one in cabinet is obviously untouchable, she's as about untouchable as they get.
Okay, Katie Simpson in Ottawa tonight. Thanks, Katie.
Thanks.
So we'll keep following all of this, Andrew. Our second At Issue of the week is tomorrow, but I know you're looking at the latest from Venezuela, a day after we saw those huge numbers of protesters marching against the regime.
Yeah, it was a quieter day on the streets there, Rosie, but the opposition has momentum, which puts the president, Nicolas Maduro, to the test. At what point would he use military force? And how would the military itself react to such an order? We haven't seen any violent reprisals yet, but it's clear that this political struggle could take a turn. So tonight, a rare insight into such a critical question. Adrian and her CBC News colleague, Evan Dyer, met a soldier willing to speak. For his safety, though, we've concealed his identity so that he could speak freely about the mood within the ranks.
A Venezuelan soldier who is furious, angry enough to talk, and he knows the risk of what he's doing.
If they find me doing this, they're going to charge me with treason to the nation. And the consequences for that are torture.
So he is tempting torture to say this, that if he's given orders to shoot on crowds, he won't do it.
I'm incapable of opening fire on my own people. Even my own family could be there. I'm incapable of hurting them. And my companions, I'd say that for the great majority would do the same. I don't think any of them would be capable of gunning down people who can't defend themselves.
The restraint of some soldiers has been a frequent conversation in Venezuela lately, especially with remarkable scenes recently of National Guardsmen getting hugs from protesters. Ever determined to show the military is on his side, Nicolas Maduro's public relations efforts have been heavily focused on showing his closeness to the military. Last week, even getting a medal pinned to him. Although listen carefully to the exchange with the soldier. With or without blood, he jests. Perhaps not so much of a joke. If Maduro fears some sort of insurrection, then this soldier may understand why.
They know they're losing. They know they have no way to control this. They know that people don't believe in their lies anymore. They know that the armed forces are split and that a large number support Juan Guaidó.
His complaints, he says, are like those of so many others in the country. Not enough money to feed the families, not enough security or promise. That may be so for many of the rank and file, but they take orders from the upper echelons of the forces. And those are people protected by Maduro's government.
Viven felices, tienen casas de 3 pisos.
They live happily. They live in 3-story houses, they have all the luxuries, they get a hold of all the things you can't get in this country. They have access to everything, everything. Everything from food, medicine, private clinics, doctors. They travel.
Even so, bottom line, can Nicolas Maduro count on the armed forces to protect him and his government? One man's view.
The government can depend on the armed forces if it's a good government, if it's a fair government, if it's an honorable government. But this government, like this now, can't count on the armed forces.
He says that and yet knows his risky to articulate analysis may amount to nothing. There have been a lot of bold statements about and by the opposition in Venezuela over the last month, and yet Nicolas Maduro remains. His grip remains. The story of the opposition is so far just one of words, not many deeds. Adrian Arsenault, CBC News, Caracas.
Now, there's no explicit indication the generals will break with Maduro, but here's another question. If the Venezuelan military did turn, how might the U.S. react? Donald Trump has neither ruled out nor promised his own military's intervention.
I think there are a number of solutions, a number of different options, and we look at all options.
That was as far as the president was willing to go on the topic again today. But his special envoy for Venezuela revealed just how closely the U.S. seems to be watching for cracks.
We are hearing a lot of discontent in the military. So we think that this opinion is spreading within the military, that the current situation is untenable.
China is also closely tracking all of this, though today its foreign ministry denied a report that it has held talks with Venezuela's opposition on the matter of protecting its financial interests. And one last note on Venezuela tonight, Ian. The opposition is now trying to break Maduro's control of the state-owned oil company by appointing a new temporary board of directors.
And Andrew, let's move on to a much different story now. The winter storms that hit virtually every part of the country over the last 24 hours, leaving many Canadians digging out. A potentially dangerous mix of snow, ice pellets, freezing rain, and wind had parts of Atlantic Canada looking like a ghost town today. Many schools, offices, and services across the region were closed, and drivers were asked to stay off the roads.
Snow and slush on the roads. I was going through whiteout conditions all the way up.
That same storm pummeling parts of Ontario overnight and may have played a role in this pileup an hour west of Toronto. Police say at least 7 transport trucks and 15 passenger vehicles were involved. No one was seriously hurt. In Ottawa, lots of people out shoveling sidewalks and driveways because there was a lot of snow, more than 30 centimeters in some areas.
It's definitely way more than last year, and worse than that, it's like big dumps all at once. Like, I have no idea where the city is putting all this snow.
And BC's south coast was in cleanup mode. Kids in the Fraser Valley, just east of Vancouver, got their second consecutive snow day to the dismay of some parents.
There's no reason the kids couldn't be in school today, really.
Do these roads look too bad to travel to and from? No.
Now, the occasional snow day is one thing because everyone misses class together, but new research out of the United States shows that more than 10% of kids end up missing an entire month of their school year for other reasons. The numbers apparently are similar here. And as Christine Birak explains, that kind of chronic absenteeism can have serious consequences.
Okay, so let's check in.
Make no mistake, it is a school day.
My son's in junior kindergarten, so he probably can afford to lose 5 days of school.
And he's not alone.
So do you feel bad about missing a week?
Sort of.
We've never been worried that she's missing too much school.
But how much is too much? Appointments, sick days, bad weather, throw in a vacation, and days off school add up fast. Chronic absenteeism is missing 19 school days a year. That's just 2 days a month for any reason. The American Academy of Pediatrics is warning it can seriously impact a child for life.
Even in early grades, that school attendance is really important for achieving future academic and health outcomes.
Studies have shown chronic absenteeism in kindergarten can lead to lower math and reading scores in grade 3. In high school, it's linked to a higher dropout rate, which can affect employment and drug and alcohol use.
It's this chain of events that starts at a very young age.
We have lots of students that miss that much school over the course of a year.
Jim Van Buskirk is the chief social worker for a large school board in Ontario. The province's latest stats show on average nearly 12% of elementary school kids were chronically absent from school. In some areas, it's more than 20%. And the reasons why can be complex.
There seems to be a higher prevalence of anxiety and depression in young people and children and youth these days. There are occasions when children are staying home because they're actually helping care for their parent who may be experiencing a mental health concern. And we know that poverty has a major influence on children's ability to attend school regularly.
We just try to work with the families to let them know that the more their child can be in school, the better.
Another big, deep breath. Since 2015, pediatrician Sloan Freeman has been working at a clinic inside a Toronto school. She says when parents communicate why their child is away, schools can offer supports.
Whether it's a learning disability or emotional difficulties, getting a child help early can improve their job prospects and their long-term health.
Once they start to realize that, I think they will be more willing to address the problems and be a real partner in getting their child to school.
I'm gonna miss it, but I also wanna go to Cuba.
And yes, a family vacation can offer important learning experiences too, but doctors insist parents should keep an eye on the calendar. Christine Birak, CBC News, Toronto.
Here's some other stories we're tracking tonight on The National. We've been telling you all week about serious problems in Canada's amateur sports world involving the abuse of young athletes at the hands of coaches. But in one high-profile case that we mentioned, the judge's verdict was not guilty. David Brubaker, the former head coach of Canada's women's Olympic gymnastics team, was cleared of sexual assault and sexual exploitation charges involving a former athlete.
I have followed the CBC reports and I understand the numbers, and it's compelling evidence that there may be serious problems, but I didn't believe from day one this was one of them.
Despite the acquittal, today Gymnastics Canada said it's launching its own investigation into Brubaker. It is already investigating his wife Elizabeth following complaints about her conduct. She too was a coach until her suspension last month. Bill Cosby says he's a political prisoner, comparing himself to Martin Luther King Jr. and Nelson Mandela. The former sitcom star and comedian, once known as America's Dad, issued his first public statements since being convicted of drugging and sexually assaulting Andrea Constand. He's currently serving a minimum 3-year prison sentence. Cosby says he has no remorse and never will because, he says, he did nothing wrong. A federal judge in the United States has ruled Donald Trump's former campaign manager, Paul Manafort, intentionally lied to prosecutors about the Russia probe. Manafort was convicted of various financial crimes last year and then cut a deal to plead guilty to conspiracy and witness tampering. By lying to investigators, the judge says Manafort broke the terms of that deal, so Robert Mueller's no longer required to recommend a lighter sentence.
Ahead tonight on The National, they're fed up with the doping scandals and stories of abuse. How Olympic athletes are banding together to have their voices heard.
And a little later, Canada's Yellow Vests are heading to Parliament Hill. We'll talk to the people behind the movement.
And in tonight's moment, a tribute to young victims of gun violence from other young Americans.
Seeing their lives cut short so suddenly, it definitely makes you question if it could be you.
It's important to protect your car this winter, especially if you're parking outside. These cold weather car hacks might help. Open your windows a bit, just for a few seconds, to let in cool, dry air before locking up your car for the night. This will prevent frost formation on your windshield, because humidity creates condensation. And in these freezing temps, condensation creates frost.
And then everything cools off at the same speed. And that's usually the best way to prevent condensation.
And don't leave any liquids in the car, as it'll create more condensation. Defrost your windshield with the AC on. It's designed to pull moisture out of your car, which could help clear frost faster. If you want to save time in the morning, here's how to clear your windshield fast. To make a homemade de-icing spray, mix 2 parts rubbing alcohol with 1 part water. Put in an old spray bottle. Spray, wipe, and go.
Rubbing alcohol and water mixture can dissolve the water crystals, which is ice, almost exactly the same way that water dissolves sugar and salt crystals.
Some people shell out for a car cover, but here's a cheaper alternative. Slide tube socks on your wipers and wrap bags around the side mirrors to help protect from ice and snow. Some people leave their wipers up at night, but experts don't recommend it.
We've seen them come down, and when they come down, they can break the windshield.
Your windows and windshield are important, but if it's cold enough, your car door can actually freeze shut. And trust me, you don't want that. Here's how you can stop that from happening. Take some cooking spray to apply to the rubber seal around your doors. Make sure to wipe off excess with a paper towel. The oil can help prevent water from sticking to the seal.
World-class athletes bring strength and power to competition, but in the wider world of sport, many feel there's a power imbalance, with agencies calling the shots and controlling the conversation. Now, a new organization vows to speak directly for athletes. It's called Global Athlete, and it launched today. Based in Montreal, but with an international reach. Senior correspondent Susan Ormiston looks at the pent-up dissent fueling a new movement.
A powerful, fresh start for elite athletes frustrated and desperate to say more freely. Callum Skinner, a British Olympic medalist, is churning up support.
My feeling with the IOC and various other groups is that you can speak out a little bit, but not too much to bring the organisation into disrepute. It's almost as if it's a problem they'd rather not have, and that we're ill-informed, ill-educated, and what right do we have to have an opinion?
The gold goes to Great Britain.
Skinner's team took gold in the 2016 Rio Olympics. But many athletes grumble their wins are celebrated while their voice is too often dismissed. The doping crisis and then Russia's re-emergence at the 2018 Pyeongchang Olympics was a tipping point.
We had a lot of British athletes, a lot of athletes from around the world speaking out against the decisions made by the WADA, against USADA, against the decisions made by the IOC. And that was really just treated with utter disdain. And that's so disappointing.
Enter Rob Keeler, a WADA executive for 16 years till his sudden resignation last summer. He was on the Russia file, and as of today, he's heading up Global Athlete.
A lot of times when athletes want to speak out against decisions that are being made, they're being told to be quiet by federations, by people within the movement, because they potentially are hurting the brand.
It started to build last fall as WADA moved to let Russia's doping agency back into the fold with conditions.
It wasn't an easy decision, and I fully understand the reasons against it.
But when Canadian Olympian Becky Scott did object, she said she was harassed and bullied.
I faced remarks and comments that were definitely designed to denigrate, to belittle, and to dismiss the voice of the athletes.
They are afraid to speak out because of the fear of retribution.
From whom?
From sporting leaders, from people running sport, and they don't want controversy.
But there is plenty of that with doping, with abuse in sport, all things this organization will tackle, along with branding rights and compensation.
There's only one thing that's going to change the face of sport, and that's when athletes get together, athletes mobilize, and athletes make people accountable.
Canadian Paralympian Benoit Huot will join the initial advisory group with Skinner and 6 other international athletes, hoping to attract thousands more. Susan Ormiston, CBC News, Montreal.
Ahead tonight on The National, her life ended tragically trapped in a clothing donation box. Tonight, Crystal Papineau's family speak about their anguish and their pride.
First, though, who are Canada's yellow vests? David Comment goes in depth next.
Well, I think it's the radicals and the people that are making it, blowing it out of proportion, making the good yellow vest people look bad.
You have tickets for the late show?
Yes.
How did you get the tickets?
My grandfather.
Your grandmother approve of the Beatles?
Yeah, she's a real good egg. I think they're grand. Marvelous, marvelous, marvelous.
Why do you say that, girl? Why do you-
Yeah, nice, clean boys. They're decent, clean boys. Everything you want them in this country. Look at the cloud that's falling them.
Which is your favorite, sweetheart? Starting with you.
Paul McCartney.
You want to marry Paul when you grow up?
Yeah.
You would like to marry Paul, wouldn't
Yes,
you?
sir.
You think there's any chance of that?
No. Yeah.
How about you, dear?
Ringo
Which is your?
Starr.
Why is he your favorite?
The doll.
All right. How about you, sweetheart? Who's your favorite?
Paul.
Why?
Because he's cute.
How about you, sweetheart? Who's your favorite?
George.
All right. What happens to you girls when you see the Beatles?
Nothing. You're so hairy.
You just go hairy. You're hairy already. You have any boyfriends, kid?
Yeah, they don't like this either.
Boyfriends don't like the Beatles?
Right. No.
And why don't your boyfriends like the Beatles?
They're jealous.
I don't like the Beatles.
You get somebody like Peter, Paul, and Mary, now they have style. I hate the Beatles. No, they are folk singers.
There's nothing to the
thing
Beatles.
they sing is just, there's nothing to it.
Beatles are bad news.
You expect this affection for the Beatles to last forever, dear?
No, for another 6 months.
No.
Yeah.
No, no.
At least. At least, yeah.
And then, are you going to find somebody else
No,
afterwards, dear?
no. We'll always be true fans.
Oh. Can you give me your name, sir?
It's Jack Poslands.
And are you a Beatle fan, Mr. Posland?
I like the Beatles, yes.
Who's your favorite Beatle, Mr. Posland?
Well, I like them all. I guess it's, I think Paul and Ringo, I guess, are my favorites.
Have you modeled your haircut on that of Ringo Starr?
No, I don't know. I just grew it and did it the best way I knew how.
Do you feel that you resemble Ringo Starr?
Well, a lot of people seem to think I do.
Do what?
Resemble Ringo a little bit.
How old are you?
I'm 26.
26 years old, eh? And you're still a Beatle fan?
Well, I like them.
One of the Beatles is your favorite.
Paul.
What happens to you when you see Paul?
I don't know, I go nuts, I guess.
All right. What about you? You John your favorite?
Yes.
Why?
I don't know. He just appeals to me.
Goes to your house, sweetheart.
I don't know. I think he's good looking.
I think he's good looking. What about you, dear?
Oh, I love George.
Why?
Oh, he's just fabulous. I really love him.
There has been objection to the kind of example you're setting by smoking in public. Have you ever considered giving it up?
No. Why should we? No. We don't set examples. Everybody else smokes in front of everybody else, you know. And we don't set examples to people, you see.
Hey, why should we, you know? We even drink.
All right, can you girls tell me how much trouble have you gone to see the Beatles here in Toronto?
Sandy?
Yeah.
Describe
I hope
some
they've
of it.
been appreciative, and I
Yeah.
doubt that. I doubt it.
Tell who's appreciative.
Well, I know Paul is, because he always waves with everybody,
Yeah,
but the
so
others
Sean.
ignore you. Oh, they're absolutely marvelous. I'm so proud, and I'm so proud of the Toronto teenagers as well. I think they behave themselves.
Journalists are your first line of defense in any democracy. When journalists are under attack, democracy is under attack.
Less than 2 weeks after we brought you Adrian's interview with Maria Ressa, the Philippines-based journalist has been arrested. Ressa is the CEO of Rappler, that's a news website that's been critical of the country's president. She's now accused of cyber libel in connection with an article from 2012.
The fact that an arrest warrant has been issued, well, really interesting, and I will follow. I'm just shocked that the rule of law has been broken to the point that I can't see it.
Her lawyer says the charges appear to be politically motivated. In the past, the Philippines president has called Rappler a fake news outlet. This is the woman police say threw a chair from a condo balcony in downtown Toronto. Police identified her from this video that was posted online Saturday, and the 19-year-old turned herself in this morning. She faces charges including mischief, endangering life, and damaging property. The judge released her on $2,000 bail and ordered her to live with her mother. Dozens of lawyers packed a courtroom in Saskatchewan today for a multi-pronged attack on carbon pricing. Saskatchewan, Ontario, and New Brunswick argued that Ottawa lacks jurisdiction to impose a price on carbon pollution.
This is not a case about whether climate change is real or not. The government of Saskatchewan is not made up of a bunch of climate change deniers.
Ottawa says the federal government can impose a carbon tax because climate change is a national concern. That argument will be presented tomorrow.
4 months after Yellow Vest demonstrators hit the streets of France over taxes and the high cost of living, similar movements have popped up around the world, including in Alberta, where bitter resentment about economic uncertainty are about to hit the road, headed east. They're focused on the federal government's response to suffering in the oil industry. Tomorrow, a convoy of trucks will drive that message all the way to Ottawa. But they aren't the only ones laying claim to those yellow vests. Others want to spread a much different message, less about jobs, more about immigration. David Common takes a closer look at the movement and where it might be headed.
There is an emergency in Alberta, and this fire truck is leading the response. The first in a convoy to Parliament Hill.
We're gonna have a few hundred trucks coming out of Alberta. People are gonna join. They're gonna go as far as they can.
You're pretty motivated to do this.
Oh, we're very motivated. Yeah, we're gonna keep trucking. We're gonna get down there.
Glenn Carrott's oil field fire protection business is hurting. He's watched others go bust. So his protest message is straightforward.
We just believe that Canadians are not happy with the current government, and we need them to listen to what's going on with our oil and gas sector.
The convoy is part of the larger Canadian Yellow Vest movement. Every weekend in communities across Canada, there are protests like this, even in -30, those so committed to their cause.
What are the things you want to be heard on?
We need a government who champions our resources. It's just that simple. I mean, we're such a rich province.
This is a federal government that has bought a pipeline that says that pipeline will be built.
I don't believe it. We don't believe it. I mean, we don't believe our provincial government either. We don't believe it. We think it was bought to park it, and it's absolutely heartbreaking, all the people that have lost their jobs.
Most of the people here are on board with Glenn and his convoy, but what they're concerned about varies widely. Messages over oil and the carbon tax are here, but immigration and the United Nations also dominate the conversation.
My father was an immigrant, as well as my grandfathers. They came here to this country, and you know what they did? They earned their way through living. It wasn't a handout, and that's what it is now.
Yellow Vest means different things to different people. What does it mean for you? What are the core messages?
Well, I just think we need to take care of our Canadian citizens first. We need to have secure borders because, as Donald Trump says, you know, without a safe border, you have no country.
Some people will look at a thing like this, they'll see it on TV, and they'll say, well, you're just a racist. You're just against migration.
Well, I think that's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard. I'm not a racist.
They won't show any of it. They did last time they were here. They never put an interview on the air that they did.
You guys are biased, right? You're paid by the government, which is actually our tax dollars, and it's totally wrong.
Lots of distrust, whether about the media or those coming into Canada.
Some people are concerned about immigration. Some people are concerned about Muslims in Canada. What do those issues do for you as a broader movement?
They're important. They're important, and they're to some more than others. But they are a distraction for, I think, for the message that we're trying to get out to Canada, that we need the oil light. We need pipelines.
Would you rather not have those other distractions?
They're entitled to stand here just as much as I am.
But those mixed messages risk derailing the convoy's focus on oil and the economy, and has some questioning who else the movement attracts. People like Ty Hunt, president of the Canadian Infidels, otherwise known as the Klan.
Where do the infidels fit in the Yellow Vest movement?
We, as a group, were Yellow Vest before Yellow Vest was a movement.
He's been showing up at rallies too. But the Klan's affiliation with alt-right groups, their provocative messages about Islam, and headlines about a recent unannounced visit to a local mosque have drawn negative attention to a movement that is desperate to be taken seriously.
We're not looking for any sort of spotlight with the Yellow Vest movement. We're hoping that it kind of develops in its own with the convoy and everything like that. What we want to do is try and add to it, which is take the risks, you know, going and trying to make contact with mosques.
Why is still unclear. They say to have a better understanding, but also to protect the Canada they want.
I'm not trying to push anything. I'm just trying to support, you know, safe and secure borders. That's it.
There are some Yellow Vest groups out there who say they don't want you at their rallies.
I haven't heard any Yellow Vesters, but if there is any, it's because of what the mainstream media has put out there.
You don't think you're being fairly represented?
No, absolutely not.
So, are Thai and the Canadian infidels part of the Yellow Vest movement? Depends who you ask.
Regardless of race or faith, we're all created equal.
Just hours earlier at another Yellow Vest rally, a group which says they stand against racism listens from the sidelines. They've challenged the Yellow Vesters here to publicly denounce what they call hate groups among them. That includes members of the alt-right group C3, the Canadian Combat Coalition, and the infidels, who are a no-show today. There is no denouncement.
We're not far left, we're not far right. We're Canadians that are holding all governments responsible, whether you're conservative, liberal, or NDP, we want to hold all accountable to Canadian people.
Along with the protests, dozens of Yellow Vest groups have also popped up online, some distancing themselves from the rhetoric they don't agree with, like the messaging found here on Canada's largest Yellow Vest Facebook site. More than 100,000 members see messages like this, targeting Trudeau, the media, immigration, and refugees. The site was founded by Tyler Mélenchon, since exposed for supporting racist rhetoric in the past, though he chose not to talk to us about it now.
So these are some of the things that we see there, you know. We owe illegals nothing, we owe our veterans everything. Are you surprised that this exists in Canada?
No, I'm not.
Reza Hazmath is a political science professor at the University of Alberta.
Like, there's a lot of noise around immigration. There's a lot of noise about things that have very little to do with their core message. And the core message is, look, they're losing their jobs. They feel like politicians, both at the federal level and the provincial level, are not listening to them.
These are legitimate kind of concerns.
Of course,
yeah.
But the danger at hand is when you start talking about immigration, you start talking about, well, it's because of immigrants coming in. If we actually see immigrants to Canada in the short term, medium term, and the long term, they contribute back to our economy much more than the assistance that we provide to them. And this is documented time and again in academic studies.
What are you saying?
For Reza, the federal government needs to start paying attention to the economic issues that he says are underlying people's anger.
And I think that's where we need greater leadership from all politicians, both at the provincial and federal level, to actually address this, not only in Alberta, but across Canada.
It's all left Glenn in a bit of a pickle. The desire to make the movement a big tent is watering down his own message around pipelines and the carbon tax.
Yeah, what does that do to your message?
Well, I think it's the radicals and the people that are making it, blowing it out of proportion, making the good Yellow Vest people look bad. And it is a problem, but that's not what the real Yellow Vest movement stands for.
You're rolling your trucks right up to Parliament Hill.
Yeah.
Whose office do you want to knock on?
Well, you know what, I'd love to be able to knock on Mr. Trudeau's door.
And what would you say to him?
I'd say you need to get in touch with Canadians.
Glenn says anyone with a grievance is welcome to join in. There's sure to be a lot of messages rolling up at Parliament that day. Who will be there to speak and to listen is the question. David Coleman, CBC News, Red Deer, Alberta.
The United We Roll for Canada convoy is set to leave Red Deer tomorrow at 8 a.m. local time. The plan is then to head through Calgary, Strathmore, Brooks, Medicine Hat, and then Regina, picking up more trucks along the way.
Up next on The National, Crystal Papineau died inside a donation bin on the streets of Toronto. Tonight, her parents share their memories of their little girl and what they've learned since her death.
You can't believe that she's gone, you know, because we always got them calls and say, hi, how are you? And I'm doing good, or I'm going to jail, or I'm in rehab or something. She always let us know what was going on, but didn't want to come home.
For all of its weaponry, the toughest battle the F-18 Hornet may ever have to face is the barrage of poor publicity it's now attracting. Its costs have been climbing, and some media reports have described the Hornet as a lemon. There have even been suggestions the U.S. government might cancel the whole 18 program. Earlier this year, the U.S. General Accounting Office, which audits the 18 program, blasted the plane. It and other reports have charged that it was nearly a ton overweight, its undercarriage was faulty, it had problems of drag, reduced engine thrust, range, and its acceleration was below specifications. There were other problems, none of which pleased the U.S. Navy and Marine Corps, which planned to buy over 1,300 of the planes. For Canada, the question has become immediate. Just how good is this plane? And here one enters a vastly complicated air industry world. The first batch of pre-production model F-18s are being put through their paces here at the Patuxent Naval Air Test Center in Maryland. And according to some in the industry, that is part of the plane's PR problems. For there are many in the U.S. Navy who wish the 18 had never come along at all. An influential lobby in the Navy would rather spend its budget for aircraft on more of these spectacular Grumman F-14 Tomcats, the world's best air interceptor. George Spangenberg is a retired head of U.S. Naval Air Evaluation, one of America's top experts on Navy planes. He's just one voice complaining that the 18 has been forced on a reluctant Navy.
We fought it off for about 3 years, and then eventually we were overwhelmed and told to buy it or else. And then the syndrome becomes, well, it's better than nothing, which may or may not be true.
In Congress, there are other voices. Many are horrified by the plane's rising cost. Democrat Bruce Vento of Minnesota has been a constant critic of the 18.
This plane is not an outstanding plane. There's nothing unusual about it. We build other planes that are equally as good. The fact is this plane was supposed to be a low-cost plane, and since it isn't achieving that particular mark, I think it's quite realistic to reframe our objectives in terms of what we purchase.
But there are also indications the 18's baptism of fire has been harsher than is justified. The U.S. Navy officially says it's now happy with the 18 and recent improvements. In St. Louis, McDonnell Douglas Vice President Joe Waldner says the corrections were relatively simple. He complains the 18 may have been smeared in part by competitors and insists some of the program has exceeded specifications.
The accuracy of the navigation system is 3 times better than specification. The reliability of the airplane, even at this very early stage, is proving to be twice as good as what the Navy currently has in the fleet.
McDonnell Douglas test pilots have put in nearly 2,000 hours on the 18 and praise its reliability and ease of maintenance.
I have about 150 flight hours in the Hornet at this time, and I guess it's hard to isolate the good points into one single statement. I'd say it's probably the best, has the best aircraft engine that's ever been put in a fighter or tech airplane, bar none.
The airplane is in fact flying as we intended it to fly. The problems that we knew were there, we are finding, and the good aspects that we knew are there, we are finding. And our goal of an easy airplane to fly, which we feel is the most important facet of a modern airplane, is the goal that we are definitely achieving. And this is really paramount to anything else.
It now seems unlikely the 18 will be canceled, and even many of its critics concede that in time it should turn out to be a good plane.
Now to a troubled life cut senselessly short. Crystal Papineau died last month at the age of 35, trapped partway inside a metal bin for clothing donations. She is dearly missed.
She was a very bubbly person.
She was funny. She was loving.
Papineau had run away from small-town Ontario, finding friendship and community on the streets of Toronto. At a memorial last night, she was remembered as kind, good-humored, generous, known for sometimes taking clothes from those bins to give to homeless people.
The fact that someone could have just, like been trying to get some clothes or been even trying to get warm, it's horrible.
Tonight, the CBC's Nick Purdon takes a raw look at the life of Crystal Papineau by speaking with the family who raised her and lost her.
On this country road, about 50 kilometers from Ottawa, is where Crystal Papineau grew up. Inside her childhood home, her dad, Gerald Cuno, and her stepmom, Evelyn Simpson, they're still trying to make sense of their daughter's death.
I don't know where to begin. I have no idea where to begin. I just don't know how Crystal ended up where she did. We had our ups and downs with her, but there was a lot of good times with Crystal.
You always think, what did you do, what didn't you do right? So yeah, you have to only think of the good times.
Now in the beginning, when she was really little, Crystal was a joy. She loved to go camping, she was always drawing and reading, and she spent hours out here around the house. Where did Crystal used to play?
Well, she used to play on this acre of ground, but it's changed since then.
The question I've had ever since I heard that Crystal Papineau died in a clothing bin in Toronto is, how did she end up there? Because maybe understanding what happened to Crystal will help others.
Would she just run around and... Just like any other kid and play, Used to be a lean-to on here. We used to put our wood. She used to climb on there with her cousin and run around on the roof. And
she went up there on the roof?
Oh yeah, many times. She was fearless. She was.
But as Crystal grew older, her behavior got out of control.
When Crystal took one of her episodes, it was like she'd go outside and she'd tear her clothes all off. And sit there.
Went out in the cornfield and ripped
Right
all
out
of
the
her,
cornfield.
ripped her blouse and everything.
Or take a stick and smash, throw stones. And this is 7 and 8 years old. What was I supposed to do? Grab her by the hair and throw her in the bedroom and lock the door and, you know what I mean?
Oh, she'd have climbed out the window anyway.
So whenever we found that she was getting out of control, we placed her to places where we figured that she wouldn't be able to hurt herself or hurt other people.
It tortures Gerald and Evelyn that they sent Crystal away to different group homes in and around Ottawa. But they say they did it because Children's Aid told them that was the best way to help Crystal.
Any relationship Jerry and I built up with Crystal, whenever we put her in those places, that trust that she had in Jerry and I went way down here. Maybe they don't want me either. I know it did.
So what do you do when
But you thought that would help her?
Well, yes, because that's what they said. They said that they'd get help for her. And then whenever Crystal was in there, like, Mommy and Daddy don't care about me. Where they got me? They got me in here.
Exactly.
When Crystal turned 16, she decided she didn't want to go to group homes anymore or live with her parents. And so she took off to Toronto.
At least when she got there, she found people that she could help and that would help her. And she felt safe with them a lot better than she did here because they weren't going to throw her out again.
No, don't feel that way. No.
I don't care. That's how I feel.
No. You're putting it all on yourself.
I'm telling you, that's how Crystal felt.
Well, I don't think so. Careful you don't slip.
What do you think about when you think about her now?
You always wonder if you could do more, but there's only so much you can do, eh? You can't believe that she's gone, because we always got them calls and say, hi, how are you? And I'm doing good, or I'm going to jail, or I'm in rehab or something. She always let us know what was going on, but didn't want to come home.
Now, most of the time, Gerald didn't know anything about where Crystal was, where she was staying, where she was sleeping. But he could imagine because he spent 3 winters on the street himself.
You know what it's like to be cold, laying in the snowbank with a plastic over you, or sleeping in someone's utility room because the furnace kicks on and it's warmer, or sleeping in 5 bags of garbage, hoping it doesn't stink so that you can have some place that is comfortable. I know about that. There was nothing.
Once Gerald and Evelyn figured out where Crystal was in Toronto, they went to see her. They found a teenager with her own ideas about the world.
We go bought her breakfast. I'm a vegetarian now, so I don't eat meat, and just don't give me no money, because all I'm going to do is pierce my body. But I'm glad to see you, but I don't want to leave Toronto. I want to stay here. We wanted her to come home.
Crystal had found a life of her own on the street.
She never wanted to move closer because she said that's her life.
No, this is my home now. You know, the only help that Crystal got was when she went to Toronto. And those the people on the street helped her, and she helped them, and that's the only time that she felt safe, and she felt secure, and she felt wanted. And I learned that my daughter was loving and caring, and that's all I hoped her to be. And she cared for other people. It's amazing. And she was strong, very strong girl, very, very strong.
That cold night in January, when Crystal climbed into the donation bin, she did it to help others. She'd often pull clothes out and hand them out on the street. And in the end, it killed her.
And that's what happened to Crystal. The top one come down, got her in the back of the head, and the bottom one got her on the neck. She suffocated in there. She was in there long enough, she was able to make a phone call, and by the time somebody found her, she was already dead. 8 minutes.
It's clothes. They don't put money in it. They don't put gold in it. They put clothes in it. Why are they so secure for a piece of rag, for a shirt?
For clothes, yeah.
What do you want done with the bins?
I want them gone, completely gone.
Evelyn and Gerald have learned what happened to Crystal, how she died, and how she lived too. And now underneath the sadness, there's something else.
I'm just amazed at her.
Proud of her.
I am proud of her, very proud of her. I don't care if she's on the street, I don't care if she made $1 million a day. But where Crystal was, she made a lot of other people happy. She had so many friends, and that meant a lot to me. I just feel her here with me. You know, like sometimes I'll be sitting here. Alone with a cat or something. She'd come and tell me, Mom, I'm fine, I'm okay. Don't worry about me. And I believe she is. She's in a much better place now.
Crystal Papineau's terrible end is not an isolated story. Since 2015, at least 8 Canadians have died after getting stuck in donation bins.
We should examine the safety implications of these boxes.
The City of Toronto is reviewing the bylaw governing drop-off boxes. Rangeview Fabricating, which built the bin that Crystal Papineau died in, says it stopped producing that particular type that has anti-theft bars that can trap people. And since her death, it's removed those bars from more than 5,000 bins across Canada. 5 cities in BC have outright banned and removed donation bins.
Our moment is next on The National. We hear from teenage journalists across the U.S. reporting on gun violence since Parkland.
It's something I carry with me in my heart every day, knowing that I'm going to the park, I'm going to school, and they can't.
Let's look at how one of Canada's most naturally diverse provinces, British Columbia, will change in just 3 decades. Now, we could show you the worst case scenario if we do nothing to curb our greenhouse gas emissions, or the best case scenario if everything goes according to the Paris Agreement plans. But let's stick to a middle of the road scenario. Temperatures have risen by an annual average of 2.5 degrees in BC. In the interior and the north, there's even larger variability. Vancouver sees more than double the number of days above 25 degrees than it did in the 2010s, and about 15% less rain in the summers. The growing season in the Lower Mainland has expanded by 6 weeks. There's a 30% drop in frost days in the Okanagan Valley by 2050. That means winters aren't cold enough to keep the pests at bay. By 2050, we'll be facing more fires and more disasters like the wildfire that ripped through Fort McMurray, Alberta, destroying homes and displacing nearly 90,000 people. The fire season may increase by 30 to 50 days in the interior. Our seasons play out differently too. Warmer, wetter winters across the province have meant our snowpack has dropped dramatically year after year. By 2050, a quarter of BC's glaciers have melted. Hitting the slopes has become a rare luxury. And that has big implications for our water supply. We will see more rain. The rainiest day of the year could be 10% wetter. But even though there is less snow and more rain, it's coming too fast. The spring melt is sudden. Flash floods and mudslides are an even greater risk. Pineapple Express soakers from the Pacific will come much more often and hit harder. And a warming ocean means that sea levels have risen by 30 centimeters in 2050. If we don't spend billions of dollars on infrastructure to protect our coastal communities, places like Richmond, the Vancouver International Airport, the Tsawwassen Ferry Terminal will all be underwater after just one bad storm. Parts of Vancouver's iconic seawall need to be rebuilt, and beaches like Wreck Beach and Jericho have washed away. Fish species have had to migrate dozens of kilometers north every decade as their traditional territories become too warm. Like your sushi, Pacific salmon catch may decrease by 30% by 2050. Here are some economic figures to consider. If we do absolutely nothing, the projected cost of damage to BC because of climate change is $32 billion. It would cost us $10 billion, however, to upgrade our infrastructure like dikes and levees to protect against that $32 billion price tag. We'd still be ahead by $22 billion. 2.5 degrees might not sound like a huge increase, right? But it means that the extremes we're seeing now will become the new normals in just 3 decades, and that has huge implications for how we build our cities, what we grow, and the natural biodiversity of our province. But how well we fare in 2050 and beyond depends on what we do today.
The Great Canadian Baking Show is coming back to CBC, and we're looking for Canada's best amateur bakers. Apply now. Go to cbc.ca/Great Canadian Baking Show to enter.
Tomorrow marks 1 year since the school shooting in Parkland, Florida. 17 people died, almost all of them students. But listen to this. Since that tragic day, nearly 1,200 Americans aged 18 or younger have been killed by guns. Their deaths were the impetus for a special online project published this week. Student journalists wrote obituaries for each one of the people killed, hoping to tell stories that were never told, stories of everyday gun violence, and their journalism is our moment.
We're telling the stories in a way that only teen journalists could, because we're seeing them as our peers.
I'll never forget the names and the faces and the stories of the people I wrote about. It's something I carry with me in my heart every day.
These stories need to be told, and that these kids deserve to be remembered as so much more than just how they died.
So many kids have died since Parkland. You can go on that website, but you can't read through all of the profiles in one sitting.
I saw myself, my friends, and my family in these situations, and I found common interests.
Here was someone my age, and he was dead for such a stupid reason.
I hope people understand that gun violence does not discriminate.
Maybe 1,200 children don't have to die next year, and maybe this project can help prevent more children from dying.
She learned how to walk at the extraordinary age of 6.5 months. She loved music and food and always woke up happy. Her mother remarked that she had the prettiest little soul.
So that last story was about Malaysia, 1 year old when she was killed. 44 bullets were shot with an AR-15 into her house in Indianapolis, and one of them struck her in the chest. Just a sense of some of the stories those young journalists told.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's just one story among, as you said, 1,200. So since Parkland.org is the website, and more than anything, those students just want people to actually take time and read some of those profiles.
You know, I happened to be near Parkland when the shooting happened. We were doing an interview. We drove there. We got there that night. So coming up to the anniversary tomorrow, and we were there when the student body was engulfed in grief. And then a week or so later, it kind of turned into activism. And a year later, we still don't know where that activism will lead, but it certainly is opening up to projects like the ones we just saw there. So that is The National for February the 13th. Good night.
Night, everybody.